Hello and good evening. It's Monday. It's 8 o'clock, 1 minute past 8 o'clock. It's time for another episode with me today, and this is the late smoke. Right. How was the week for you guys? I was so far. I mean, I'm just correcting my cameras, but we are looking like we are good to go. And yeah. So again, how was your week? Mine was pretty interesting. Um, for almost I didn't have the show tonight. I have a bit of an injury, but now it's all good. There's no need to go to the hospital and stuff like that. So um, my knee is pretty bad, but I can walk. I can do most of the stuff. I can't run, but I don't need to run anymore at the moment. So anyway, yeah, I'm uh, I'm back in the show. So I've seen there's a lots of active people on both channels. So we are live in YouTube, we're live in Instagram. As usual, today's show will be talking about everything cigars related. There will be, of course, what I'm smoking, what I'm drinking, a little bit of news, a little bit of ranting in the news, and there will be the best and the worst smoke of the week, of course, and we're gonna finish with some cigars from the vault next to me. And yeah, so I've seen the YouTube already have lots of questions from Apex. I mean, I hope I can answer those because the last few weeks Apex throw me some questions which I don't think there's lots of people, not only me, there's literally in this world related to cigars, which can answer those questions. But I'll try to answer. Before that, what I'm smoking and what I'm drinking. Of course, I have a interesting cigar tonight. Something from the vault. I have even the box next to me. It's a beautiful red lacquered box. This is a Room 101 Series HN, and the cigar is called 213 or 213. It's a very symbolic cigar. I hope more people know about the cigar, but I doubt because it's a long time discontinued cigar. But this is from the times where Room 101 were made by Davidoff. So I don't know if you people know, but many years ago, Room 101 were made by Davidoff. And this is roughly approximate that times. We're talking about 2012, 2013. They were made from Davidoff before that, but this cigar is from around 2013. It's a beautiful Honduran made cigar. So it's made in Honduras factory of Davidoff, using lots of different tobaccos, using Nicaraguan tobaccos, Honduran tobacco, Dominican tobacco, Brazilian binder, mix of different tobaccos in a beautiful size called 213. 213 because that's the telephone code of LA, I believe. So in this line, every cigar have a different code name as a which response which is equal to some area code of the US postal, US telephones. This specific one is LA. The size is 5.5 44. One of the most elegant sizes, Corona. I haven't smoked those in ages. There's still cigar is not lit properly. Um, with those ones, I mean, I've smoked most of the box. I have few left in the box. They're a little bit mixed condition. You know, some of them are being very good, some of them being all right. Appreciation for the handmade. Do I still work for cigars? No, I left a year ago. Almost a year ago. It was literally a year ago. Right. What's my drink tonight? This is a beautiful tea as usual. This time I have green tea blended with mango and bergamot. It's one of the withered teas blends, which it smells so good. It's probably too hot to drink it yet, but Yeah, it's a nicely refreshing, very floral tea. I think we'll pair with this very, very old cigar. I mean, this is 13 years old. Um, I hope it will smoke nice. You know, when you're smoking that kind of cigar with that age, there's always a risk. You know, either other cigar will burn, other cigar will develop. Is he completely blunt? Is he completely off? I mean, it's the lighting is not easy on this cigar. I don't know, for some reason it just don't wanna start at all. I think finally we manage. And yes, so I will start talking about the questions I have in YouTube, because Apex, as usual, send all kind of different questions, which I hope I can answer. My scarf is not in the right condition. I keep touching it, and I don't like it. There we go. I'll keep it like that. So I'll start with the questions, of course. What percentage of the total flavor profile do you attribute to the wrapper leaf in a blend? How can a wrapper leaf change your perception of nicotine strength without actually increasing it? I don't know how you get in those questions, man. I don't understand half of the question. What percentage of the total flavor profile do you attribute to the wrapper leaf? I would say a lot. Depends on the size. Thinner engages, more. Bigger engages, less. I hope that answer. Exact percentage, I don't know. I've seen both options. You know, some people says, oh, it's like 50%, 80%, 70%, 30%. In my opinion, the bigger engage, less influence of the wrapper. The smaller engage, more influence of the wrapper. How the wrapper leaf change a perception of nicotine strength without actually increasing it? I don't get that question. I don't think the wrapper changed the perception of the nicotine strength. Yeah, if you're thinking of something like if the cigar look dark and people think it's stronger, yeah, but I don't know. I mean, there's no right science here. You know, you can have a dark wrapper and mild cigar. You can have a very light wrapper and strong cigar. Nicotine strength we're talking. So I don't know how to answer that one. Next one. Beyond the standard Corojo Criollo, what impact have a modern, non-hybridized filler seeds like Pelo de Oro on the flavor profile of recent Nicaraguan releases? I don't see the point of this question. I mean, again, I don't know how you're getting those questions, Apex, but there's literally nonsense question that. Beyond, so if you want to take aside Corojo Criollo, what impact have a modern non-hybridized filler seeds? Well, there's like 15 different filler seeds. Pelo de Oro is one of them. Yeah, Pelo de Oro is and why the Nicaraguan releases? I mean, much more other countries using different stuff. So I don't know. Mention Nicaraguan release, maybe he will help. But again, it doesn't make sense. This question. Next one. What are the three most common markers, aroma taste that you believe indicate cigar has been over humidified for too long, versus the one that is simply young? Well, they can be simply young and over humidified. So one doesn't exclude the other one. Again, another question. It's how I can indicate if the cigar has been over humidified. First, you can touch the cigar, you can feel the cigar, you can see if it's squashy, soft, and squishy, jumpy, spongy, whatever you can call it. Most likely is over humidified. Taste and aroma, it will taste soggy. You will taste that machinist. It's not gonna smoke a lot. But specific taste, which can tell you the cigar is being over humidified, again, it's very, very well. And also, if it's a young cigar, it can be over humidified, it can dry. The younger cigar usually have a little bit of ammonia. That's the only thing, but even older cigars can have an ammonia. So it's not like one except the other one. Next one. For those who believe in the Cuban twang, how would you describe it scientifically, and what component of the soul curing process do you believe caused it? I cannot explain that one. Again, I'm not a scientist. The Cuban twang, probably when people says Cuban twang, in my opinion, the Cuban twang is this really refined creaminess with a little bit of pepper, not too much, just a hint of pepper and very nice sweetness. But the sweetness is not like a jammy fruity or that kind of sweetness. It's just like a, I would say, if you ever have a toast with butter and honey. When you, I mean, I used to eat a lot of those toasts when I was a kid, and for me, that's what remind me. I mean, for everyone else, can be something else. If you never try honey or haven't eaten toast with honey and butter, but when you have a toast with honey and butter and it's hot, proper toasted bread, the honey mixed with the butter give you that kind of sweetness, velvety creaminess. It's unique. I mean, maybe the closest you can get is a cappuccino with a little bit of sweetness there. So you have that not so coffee overpower with the nice milk and nice froth and creaminess. That kind of buttery. This is the Cuban twang for me. That creaminess, butter, a little bit of seed, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of sweetness, but not too much from everything. So it's literally balanced. That's the Cuban twang for me. For lots of people, they might be looking for the sharpness and the strong flavors of partagas. I don't look for that one. For me, it's not a Cuban twang. It's Cuban twang. It's just a little bit of one-dimensional punch. But again, it's I don't know where you're getting those questions, man. It's you said it's not AI questions, but how you get the idea of those questions? They don't literally make any sense. Some of them, they're just random words put together to look like a question, but doesn't make any sense. At least not for me. I mean, maybe if someone else can answer that question, I'll be more than happy to see the answer. But on this one, I don't know. Right, there's a few more. What's the update on Cuban cigars and the production and distribution? There's no official update on the Cuban cigars and production. As far as I know, Cuba doesn't produce a lot of cigars at the moment. There's some of the major distributors around the world, they struggle. Even Hunters and Franco have a not enough supply. There was a very nice article from a cigar inspector who was saying he's a very close to Hunters and Franco, and he was saying that the Hunters and Franco have a massive problem in UK at the moment with the supply. I spoke with some of the retailers in UK. They says at the moment, if you want to order boxes of Cuban cigars from the importer from Hunters and Franco, you are allowed to order one box per SKU per week. So let's say you want 5 boxes of Cuba Robusto, they'll give you only one. And this is for every SKU. And there's a lines which will never have an issue. So, okay, if you want a Partagas Lusitanias, maybe you won't get any in the next year. But if you want Romeo Short Churchill, for example, or Monte Cristo number 4, there's always supply of them. But at the moment, it's just no. I think it's too early to say what will be the problem. There's a bunch of people which been on in Cuba last week on the support where it's supposed to be the festival. Obviously, there was no festival, but there was the people still going. They says that pretty much everything is all right. It's a little bit exaggerated in the news, and it's not that worse as they show it in the news and the newspapers and the medias. The only issue is, okay, there's not much of a fuel, and the taxis charge more. So if you want to get a taxi from one point to another point, maybe we'll charge you double on the price of the last year or triple. But pretty much everything else the same. There's not much of a blackouts as they announced. There's occasional blackouts, but not that much. So I guess there will be some breakdowns on the production. There will be probably some problems with distribution, but for the moment, they still keeping what they were supposed to do. Right, I keep talking and my cigar stop burning. The cigar started very well. It's very salty, savory and salty cigar. It's not much of a sweetness, even if I was hoping to get some more because of the Brazilian tobacco. Right, you guys throw in more questions. Now there's mentioning in YouTube that hitting the most important thing in the cigar is the wrapper and make a huge difference. I would say on the bigger engages, I don't think the wrapper do a massive impact. Again, I'll repeat myself. Maybe I've said it for third or fourth time. Smaller engages. This is a 44 engage. I think the wrapper it's tasty. It can give you influence. Can maybe bring the lots of flavor, but It's not only the wrapper give you the flavor. Trust me. If the wrapper was giving the flavor, everyone will use just a blunt tobacco and just put the wrapper on top. Wrapper is important, but there's also important the flavor. You want the strength, you want that sweetness, the spiciness, the punchiness. Sometimes the wrapper can give you something, but not everything. Do I think the prices will keep going in the short distance? Always. This is like one of my mottos. You want to buy cigars, you buy them today. Don't buy them tomorrow. I don't think I'll say it for, I don't know, 20th time. I don't think cigars tomorrow will be cheaper than today. I just don't believe it. I've been buying cigars for almost 2 decades, and I don't remember a single occasion where I'll say, hey, I won't buy it now because in 6 months or in a year they will be cheaper. It's never happened. I don't think will ever happen. Maybe if you can buy now from certain regions, and then you travel to regions where the cigars are cheaper, yes, but that's not the same thing. So if you keep buying cigars from the same place, tomorrow they'll be more expensive. I mean, I'm saying tomorrow, but you know what I mean. It might be in a month or something, but they will never be cheaper. Nobody can tell you how much the cigars will go over. I remember when they doubled the prices, the Cuban cigars, when they doubled the prices of Cuba and Trinidad. I think that was 22 or 23, something like that, maybe 23, overnight. And if I knew that would happen, I mean, some people were saying, hey, they might double. I was like, no, that's nonsense. If I knew they will be double overnight, I'll probably stock all my Cohibas and Trinidad. I give so much away. I put some on auctions, and I would probably have lots of money. I honestly, the amount of Cohibas and stuff I sold a few years prior to that, I would make a solid money if I was keeping them only until that day. Well, don't more. That's a bit depressing for an average revenue smoker like me. Well, same as me. I'm an average revenue smoker. Again, it's not cheap smoking Cuban cigars. That's why one of the reasons. I mean, people always joking with me, especially the closest friends. They were joking that I'm an anti-Cuban guy. I'm not. I still smoke Cuban cigars and still enjoy Cuban cigars when they're good. My problem with the Cubans is, first of all, there's always a risk. Buying a Cuban and smoking a Cuban, there's always a risk of maybe problematic construction, draw, all kind of stuff. And in the same time, they cost more money. So if the Cubans were cheaper, I'll probably smoke more Cubans, but they're more expensive. I just prefer to buy two other cigars for the price of one Cuban, or maybe even, if you're talking for the fancy stuff, you buy one very expensive Cuban, so you buy three regular smokes. Everyone can make a decision on their own. For me, one of the reasons to smoke less and less Cubans are the prices and the quality. There's no other reason. I don't mind smoking Cuiba Robusto. I don't mind smoking Beike. I still think and believe the best Cuiba ever produced and ever existed. That's Cuiba Beike. And I'm talking with all the fancy limited whatever I smoked until a few years ago. Still, Cuiba Beike is one of the best cigars Cuba produced. But the price of the Cuiba Beike, no chance. How are the fuel prices in UK at the moment? I don't really know. Maybe a little bit up. At least before, you don't just stack because you don't find it again. But now, if you find something, just take it. I've always said that. If you find a good deal, especially some old cigars, some rare stuff, something you haven't seen in your region or whatever, buy it. You're never going to lose money. There's always, again, we're talking, again, it's a, let's say here, hypothetically, you walk in the shop and you find Partagas 898. I haven't seen those on shelves in years. Whatever the price is on 898s, unless it's like, I don't know, 5 times the normal price, just buy them. Even if you don't like them, I'm sure some of your friends or people around, if you says, hey, I bought some 898s, I'm not fancy that, it's not my cigar, you can sell it and make your money back, guarantee. Not even making a profit. If you want to make a profit somehow and be a little bit greedy, you can make, but you're never going to lose money on that kind of cigars. Don Moham, sitting on a couple of Plasencia ETV box, such a gem. Cigar of the year for me last year. Well, ETV is phenomenal cigar. It's definitely gem. Another very expensive cigar from Plasencia. I think that was one of the most expensive Plasencia ever released. But it's very good. And when I put the Plasencia ETV next to Cuiba Robusto is more expensive in UK. I mean, I would take the ETV any time of the day. I smoked 2 ETVs, all of them were phenomenal, 10 out of 10. Cuiba Robusto is a very good smoke. Don't get me wrong, it's one of my favorite Cuban Robustos. But it's more expensive than the ETV, almost double. And I'm sorry, but I prefer to smoke one ETV than one Robusto, Cuiba Robusto. Maybe that's me. Again, if you want to smoke Cuiba Robusto, smoke Cuiba Robusto. Right. Finally, time to move to the show on the schedule. What we have on the news section, the few different news I want to mention. There's of course a release. I want to talk about release. I don't know if I need to rant here. Jacob, who is one of my biggest followers in YouTube, and he always likes when I rant, and he asked me to rant. There's a new release actually announced a few days ago from Dumbarton, of course, one of the companies with 712,000 whatever releases, 75,000 releases a year, let's call it that way. Steve Saka announced another bunch of other releases, but one of the releases actually it's something interesting for me. He announced a release of brand new sobremesa called Tapa Negra, because it's literally black on the top. And different sizes, 2 different sizes, 652 Toro and 558 48 Corona Gorda. What's interesting here, the cigar is exactly the same as Joya de Nicaragua Cabineta. And in the interview of the release, Steve Saka mentioned this is a technique who he saw in the 90s when he was working with Lee Rothman on the La Excepcion. And then he showed it in Joya de Nicaragua factories where his cigars are made, and the guys from Joya took it over and made the Cabineta, and now he decided to release the same cigar for himself. Maybe using different tobacco. Again, it's most likely using different tobacco. But why do you need to say that? Hey, this is my thing. This is the thing with with the question with people like Steve Saka. It's a great blender, make phenomenal cigars, don't get me wrong, I love his cigars, but he keep claiming that he made Liga Privada, not Nick Melillo. Nick Melillo says otherwise. Of course, they both been there at that time, they both doing cigars. I tend to believe that Nick made the Liga Privada. I mean, for me, his blends are more close and more of the style of Liga Privada. I mean, Steve also have phenomenal blends, but he do a little bit different stuff. And now he claiming he's the guy who invented the Joya Cabineta. Basically, he tell the guys how to make it, and now Joya Cabineta was released more than 10 years ago, probably. I don't know. And now he decided to release it on the Liga Privada, on the Sobremesa. I don't know if this will be the sweetened cup. He was mentioning there was a big argument: is the Sobremesa sweetened or no? He always says it's not. It's just a tobacco. I think it's 100% sweetened. It's not a natural sweetness. That one again. I'm not a master blender like him, but I just want to see the tobacco who is that sweet and is not artificially sweetened. So, yeah, I mean, this is. I think it's telling this one. It doesn't sound okay to tell him, oh, the guys who make my cigars, but I told them, do that one and you're gonna make a new cigar. It just doesn't sound right for me. It's just, you don't need to agree with me. You can just say, oh, this guy's like, Jacob made a nice comment. I mean, let's just claim some fame and see what sticks. Well, same thing. I mean, it's you want to push his blend, because I've seen people commenting already. He makes so many different blends. I'm one of those people where just I couldn't cope up with his blends, and literally every year he maybe produced 50 different blends. And now grading new Sobremesa, everyone will say this is the same as Cabineta. You're like, no, it's not Cabineta. It's actually I'm the guy who created. It's I don't know, bit of a marketing, but in the world of sales, we always can say there's no such thing like marketing. So it doesn't matter what he's saying, what he's showing. Yeah. Moving on, there's another piece of news where I'm gonna rant again. Today is your day, guys. You want me to rant? I will. I saw. I don't know where to rant. I mean, I will probably rant a little bit. I saw how Fu did a review on one of the new Fuente cigars, Don Carlos Sangre de Toro. I haven't smoked the cigar, so my question here, my idea here, I'm not going to talk about the cigar itself. Again, I haven't smoked the cigar. It might be a phenomenal cigar. It might be whatever. I'm not even commenting the ratings here. But my comments and my problem here is the price of the cigar. I mean, we all know how cheap or how expensive Fuente cigars around the world, especially in the US. And when Fuente released a new cigar, even if it's not an Opus, it's not that cheap. When you look at this review, so the review is made this week. So I guess the information should be pretty relevant. Again, the review, dated the review, is 8th of March, so yesterday. And they mentioned the price list of the cigars. The prices are between $14.60 to $18.50 for the biggest size. So let's call it the Robusto. Robusto 5x50, it's $15. That's what they're announcing. I don't know where they're getting the prices. I reckon Fuente maybe give it to them. So I don't think it's half fuel. Maybe not fully half fuel either, because half fuel probably put the information without checking. But I would say if you're a big media and you post that information, you probably maybe worth check a little bit, because honestly, I spent almost 2 hours before the show trying to find every place in the US where they're selling this cigar. Even if it's sold out, I was trying to find the cheapest what I can get on this cigar. And one of the cheapest where they actually showed the price was Neptune cigars. And Neptune are no expensive brand. If you're in the US, you know. Neptune is one of the biggest one. They usually have a decent availability. Even if it's like on back order and stuff, they still show the prices. So this specific cigar, the cheapest cigar on there, the cheapest size is the Cojones, that's what they call it, 5 3/4, 54, which on the side of the half wheel, they announced it as a $15.75. On the side of the Neptune, this cigar is $26.55 per single. So that's almost double. Not double, but almost double. And it's the same for every other size. And this is one of the cheapest websites. Few other websites I found, the prices was even worse. So my question is, when you put in this information there, and people read it, and they're like, "Oh, it's like it's a $15 Fuente. It's not even. It's super cheap. It's cheaper than the normal Don Carlos, and it's a fancy new one." I mean, again, we're not talking about availability here. The cigar it's not available almost anywhere. That's one thing. But where those prices coming from? I mean, who sell on $15? I haven't seen online shops or people where they put their cigars on $15. Yeah. So there's a interesting comments in the YouTube. That's why I was a bit quiet. But yeah, that's my issue here. Shall I medias when they doing reviews and announcement, shall they put a disclaimer? Maybe, hey, this is a price not given. We didn't check it. They were given to us. That's what they sell into retailers. That's the official MSRP price, or something else. I mean, I don't do that kind of articles. I don't write about that kind of stuff. But if you do in the news, if you announce something and you put in the prices there, maybe when you're doing a review, maybe you say the cigar we bought it for that money. Don't mention where. Just say we bought it for that money. Because usually, half when they do a reviews, I believe they buy the cigars. They don't smoke a cigars given to them. So that means they buy the cigars. I'm curious, are they buy them on $15 or absolutely no? Because I don't think they bought them on $15. Um, so then it's a misleading information again. It's hey, we bought them, but we they were more expensive, but we don't care. We will put $15. So I don't know. Even they mention in the article, they mention which size carry the cigars, and I'm looking. This is ridiculous. So I'm looking. They mention it in the website. This specific company called Cigars Direct. I think I pronounce it right. They carry the cigars. So I just opened the website of Cigars Direct, and the Corona Gorda, the size they smoked, and they announced for $14.60. Currently on the website, you can buy them for $75. Whether $15 then. So the website they mention they take orders at the moment of $75 a piece, and in the same time, half you announce it for $15. How that's true? I don't know. But who am I? Again, I'm a very small guy. I don't wanna, I'm not gonna cause anything in this industry, but I don't think this is right. And when you're mentioning prices, better don't mention prices. If people ask how much a day, well, we don't know because we don't check. But when you're mentioning $15 retail price and the cigar is like cheapest is double, even triple of the price, come on. But again, who am I? I hope you agree with me. I'm not the only one who is a little bit frustrated from this thing. Well, Epicurean make a valid comment. I know this one, so I know this fact. So Fuente announced MSRP retailers. If they want to be in the closer range of Fuente, they need to buy expensive lines, which are the cost. I agree on that one. Again, I have no problem with retailers sell it for £500 even. This is not my problem. Issue is when a media like Half Wheel mentioning a price. Where we can buy this cigar on this price? I mean, you mentioning prices going to retailers or not? I don't think this is true. Jacob, this is Fuente. People will still buy them, like the Cuiba. People still buying Cuiba bacon. How many times you was on the shelf? You were on the shop and you saw Cuiba bacon on the shelves. Just tell me. I don't know where you were. Someone in Scandinavia, I think. Maybe there's not much availability there, but trust me, every single importer and importer of Cuban cigars around the world have a location of Cuiba bacon. Maybe not a lot, maybe 5 boxes, but they will get the location. How many times you see Cuiba bacon on the shelves? I haven't seen them often. Even go down to London, there's a very few shops which will sell Cuiba bacon. So same thing with the Fuente. There's the Fuentes which never go to shelves. Most of the Fuentes they're sold out before they go to the shelves. Every shop have his loyal customers, loyal clients, where they call them, hey, I have a box of this cigar, They'll buy them under the table. But when they're media's announcing prices, which I don't know. Maybe again, put a disclaimer. Hey, this is not, Fuente told that, but our research brings us to 5 times more. Right. This was my rant for this week. Again, I don't usually rant on other people, what they're doing, but sometimes when I'm frustrated from something, I just want to mention it. And maybe I'm not right again. I don't need to be right. For myself, I'm right. And you are here to listen and watching me, so that's why you're going to listen to me ranting sometimes. Right. There's another super fun news, which I honestly have a laugh when I was reading it and when I was checking and doing the stuff. There's a news from Cuba. So authorities in Havana seized more than 4,000 counterfeit Cuba Beique seals and buns. And this was like, what? um, they all come in from America, so they stop someone or some package, I don't know, from America with fake Beique buns and seals. And my thing is, I mean, how we think this is true? Why I don't think it's a why I think it's a little bit of fake news. I mean, someone will stop a parcel in the customs, open it, and this is a bunch of paper. You're gonna check the paper if it's real or no. It's not money. You know, when you have a parcel and you open it, and obviously if it's like alcohol, tobacco, drugs, weapons, whatever, yeah, you confiscate it, you can get penalized. But this is a bunch of paper. I mean, even the customs, I don't know what those people sent. Just the buns, it can be labels, it can be some artwork, it can be anything. So they says, oh, we stopped 4,500 labels, buns going there. Well, Jacob make a valid point. 4.5 C's, 5 million pass through. That's probably true, but my thing is how you decide to stop a parcel, check about what's inside, and you find the papers which you might think is not real. Then you check with probably someone in the factory, and they tell you, "Oh, that's fake. It's not our order." I don't know. Sounds a bit, smell a bit fishy for me. But I don't know. Cuba is Cuba, Communist newsletters are not always reliable. So I don't know. When I read this one, I was having a laugh, and I was like, really? So that's why I was up to mention it. It's I don't think this is true, and I almost everything coming from this media probably is not very actual and realistic. I hope you have a laugh on that one. Definitely the TCI guy is a smoker. I mean, look, probably if you're Cuban border control or custom control, probably you're proud with what your country doing, and you know what's the most counterfeit articles and what you need to look at. Cigars are probably one of those stuff, but buns. Okay, question from Robert Norris. What value for money boxes would recommend? $200 and under. Ideally Maduro. Where you are. I mean, in UK, there's no such thing like $200 for a box. I mean, convert that to pounds will be what, 160. You can buy a Maduro decent size for 160, especially if you're talking for a bigger box. Maybe 10 count with a push. Maybe you can find it. Let's call it like 180, $200-$250. You can find a box of 10. In the US, it's all depend where you are. I mean, if you're in California and New York, probably will be expensive as well. But if you're buying from Miami, or if you're buying from Florida, Miami, or New Hampshire, or some of those states, probably Pennsylvania, probably will be cheaper. But Maduro. The thing is, I haven't smoked a lot of recent new releases. Maybe I'm sure in the chat there will be Epicurean is probably in the chat. Epicurean is a media guy from the US who follow literally all the new trends. If you haven't seen his website, guys, just go in the YouTube and check his videos. I'm pretty sure Epicurean can throw some American prices at the moment, and Lot 23. I'm not a massive fan of Lot 23. That Perdomo is one of the few Perdomos I'm not a biggest fan. I know it's cheap, but it's not my type of smoke. But there's probably a lot. Again, it's I'm trying to think a brand. I mean, I'll give an example. It's the top of my head. Again, it's not the only thing. I smoked Dapper Kubo yesterday on a review, and Dapper do a phenomenal cigars. I don't think they're very expensive, and you can go for their Maduro cigars. They're pretty decent. Um, there we go. Even in Epicurean Mansion in California, you can still buy from outside state retailers. There we go. So, yeah, I mean, Robert just point where you are. I'm pretty sure Epicurean can bring you much more relevant to nowadays stuff, because like I know the prices in UK roughly, but if you ask me for the US prices, I need to check. I mean, that's what I do. Whether even with the Fuente, I checked the price because I doubted the price they put it in the website. That's why I was like, that's not really true. But yeah, sorry that I couldn't help much more on that point. Right. This was the news this week. I know it was a very fun section with the little bit of rant, a little bit of laugh. But yeah, that's the situation this week. Now, it's time to tell you what I smoked in the past week, which I was so surprised. I give a max score. So, what did I smoke? And I wasn't a big fan. So I will start with, as usual, with the worst cigar I have during the week. And this week, it was a big surprise for me. A cigar which I smoked last night. The review is not done yet. I mean, I write it down, but I haven't posted yet. So I probably will do it tomorrow when I have much more time. Last night I managed to smoke Espinosa Wasabi Robusto, which is a full Candela cigar. I don't very often smoke Candelas, but now around St. Patrick's, I've always, remember that bring out some Candelas. I don't have a lot of Candelas, I'll be honest with you. This is one of the few I have, and I decide, you know what, I'll do a review. There's not many people who do Candela reviews. If it's a good Candela, I don't mind it, but this one, the Espinosa Wasabi, it was several years on. Start really promising. The cigar was very squishy, so it was very underfilled. I can feel it. You literally can feel it. And the Candela, even if it's like under fermented, well, under dried wrapper, it's green, can be very fragile. That's why it's complicated to make it. This cigar was underfilled with very thick wrapper, so most likely the binder was very very heavy there. And the first inch or so, the cigar was actually not bad, not very grassy, not very sweet, quite peppery, and then everything just collapsed. The cigar just stopped burning. I purchased, like, relighted maybe 12 times for the period until I literally was on the last inch and decided not trying anymore. No real reason why. It's just like doesn't burn, doesn't, even when you tap the ash, clean the ash, everything. It's just like pieces of stems inside which not burnt, and like, I don't know. Construction was very bad on this cigar, so this was the one I was so, how said, I was so excited to try it, because Candela I don't smoke often, once or twice a year, and it's like, yeah, that would be good. Not really. And for the best cigar of the week, there were two phenomenal cigars I smoked this week. Both of them are already on the website. You can have a look at the reviews. One of them is actually made by Espinosa again. So Espinosa is one of those factories where they can do phenomenal cigars. I've always said it's one of my top favorite factories when they do a cigar right. But they have some miss and go on some of their blends. But the one I'm going to talk about now, this is called the Comfortably Numb Volume 2. Few years old, Toro. Super psychedelic, crazy band. And the cigar was absolutely phenomenal. And I also have an experience with psychedelic volumes before. I don't remember I smoked number 2. I definitely smoked number 1 and 3. I don't think I smoked number 2. Never been massively impressed by them. But this number 2 was just 10 out of 10. Exactly what I want in a cigar. Beautiful Toro, slow burn, ash, construction, taste, flavors, aroma, combustion, everything, complexity, crazy. Perfect smoke. I think you can still find them in the US. I don't think they're crazy expensive, maybe sub $15 or something like that. So if you're in a search of a Medium plus strength cigar, Toro size 652, I think was the size, made by Espinosa. Check on the retailers in the US. Probably you can find it comfortably numb volume 2. The other phenomenal cigar I smoke was from another factory, which I'm a big fan. This is Dissident Revolt. Super cool looking band with a mohawk skeleton on the band and short Robusto. I mean, it was a normal Robusto. I mean, short, not short. It's a standard Robusto 5x50 with the Barber Paw wrapper, Habano and Maduro. The cigar looks stronger than actually what it is. Maybe there was a question earlier about the perception on the wrapper. The cigar was looking stronger, but it wasn't. And another great example. Everything you want from a Robusto. It took me almost 2 hours, so very slow burn. It wasn't like very heavy cigar, massively packed, made by Oveja Negra, the guys from Black Label. I think it's similar price, like $15-16, maybe $18. I know Dissident slightly more expensive, especially the fancy ones. But you want another interesting looking cigar if you're into that kind of art, schools and anarchy and black and white and red. It's a great looking cigar. The Barber Paw is super nicely made. No issues there. So both of them are in the website if you want to have a look on the reviews, what I put as a notes, pairings, etc. You can just click and see them. Right. On this note, I think is on the final part of the show where I'm gonna show you a little bit of cigars I have next to me. I will try to talk about them, and yeah, this cigar, the cigar I'm smoking, it's not like 10 out of 10 cigar, but it's not a bad cigar. Even if I keep talking a lot tonight, I still managed to keep it lit. I relight it only once. Ash is a little bit flaky. Maybe I don't keep it longer because I don't want to fall over me and make a mess. I can still pick notes and flavors, so it's not completely dead, even if it's like 13 years old. The retro have power. So yeah, I'm happy with my choice. Right, the first brand we're going to talk tonight. It's this one. I think the American people haven't seen this cigar because it's specially made for the UK. What we have here is Michelero, and Michelero. This is Michelero Peru. This Michelero is the brand of a company I used to work for years ago. One of the UK exclusive brands, named after obviously the person who owned the brand, Mitchell Orchard. This is one of the cheapest cigars you can find in UK. They are very budget. I think this Toro cost under £10, which again UK price. This is, you cannot buy anything for that money. Even the cheapest Davidoff is like, the Primeros is £10. So imagine Primeros, which is like Petit Panatella, compared to this proper 652 Toro. There are a few different blends on Michelero. This one is the Peruvian one, the latest release a few years ago. Very colorful band, like parrots and jungle and stuff like that. In my opinion, is a good cigar for the money. If you're expecting, very complex, super nice cigar, it won't be. If you want to just keep puffing and don't do nothing, maybe mow the garden and wash your car or whatever, it's okay puffing cigar. But if you want something more, it's not. So if you're thinking, oh, this will be my like all the time best smoke, it's not gonna be. It's decent for the money. Buying Toro for $10, £10, or Robusto for like 9, something like that. Is a good for the UK market. The original Michelero at the beginning were made by Plasencia, I believe. I'm not sure if this is made by Plasencia. There's not much of information. Even I don't know. I didn't have the information when I was selling them, so can't tell you much about it. Next one. Next one is a brand called Imperia, or made by MLB Cigar, Mike Bellodi. He's a gentleman with lots of history in the cigar industry. He's been working with different companies, making cigars with different people. This is actually a very interesting cigar, Imperia. I smoked it a bunch of times, and for me, it's one of those underdog cigars. I mean, it's not like 10 out of 10, but always been a decent smoke, decent stick. This one even have a price tag. I don't know how old it is. This probably 4 or 5 years ago, but it says 960 at the back from smoking. So they're probably $10, $11 at the moment. If you want something different, if you never smoked them before, it's a worth a shout. And it's one of those cigars where, from some of the brands, where basically they made one cigar and that's it. It doesn't matter what they do, everyone remember them for that one hit. Like some of the musicians, they make one hit, everyone remember for that song, and it doesn't matter what they do after that. That's it. Next one. Next one is a brand which I think there shouldn't be any cigar smoker who have never smoked any cigar from this brand. What we have here, we have Monte Cristo. Monte Cristo is the most recognizable brand in the world, probably with Cohiba. Monte Cristo has a little bit of history if you don't know. They started in 1935. Everything related to the cigar is named after one book, The Count of Monte Cristo, and the story behind. So sizes, names, vitolas, everything is related to Count Monte Cristo. As far as I know, they created in his honor because in the Cuban factories back in the time when the people were people were rolling cigars, they always have in the whole room someone who reads books to the people. Usually, the only person who can read and write is the one who's sitting on the desk and reading some stories to the rollers, so they can entertain themselves instead of just staying without nothing. And yeah, they people like so much the story of Count Monte Cristo, so the Cuban people decide to appreciate it and pay homage for that, and they create the Monte Cristo brand. Monte Cristo is one of the 6 global brands of Habanos. They never get regional editions, but they get limited editions. They get Reserva, they get LCDH even. So lots of different cigars in the portfolio. They have cigars from which the usual Monte Cristo is medium to full body. This is the standard lines like the Linea Classica, all the numbers. They also have a medium style cigar, which is the open series, and they have full body cigars, which are the Linea 1935 Monte Cristo. What I have here, I want to show you some cigars of Monte Cristo. One of my old timers is Monte Cristo number 2. I'm not going to show you Monte 2 because everyone sees Monte 2. But this one, I can show you 2 identical cigars with a very different buns and very different wrappers. I can see it now. I don't know if you can see. This is Monte Cristo Edmundo. That one with the darker wrapper and with a very plain looking band. This is one of the first releases, Monte Cristo Edmundo. And I always like to say this is where the actually Monte Cristo Edmundo was good and it was tasty. I'm not a big fan of the current edition of the Edmundo, but yeah, this is a very old Edmundo from the first releases, I believe 2004, 5, 6, and the other one is more recent. Monte Cristo also have a non-Cuban version, which look exactly like the Cuban, but came in a cellophane and doesn't says Habana on the bottom. That's the only difference. You will look the same. I have one of my favorite Monte Cristo, fancy Monte Cristos. This is the limited edition 2019. Beautiful cigar. There's a few fancy 2019s. Of course, plenty of other old stuff. What I want to show you, a bunch of very old. I'm using this Cohiba box because I don't have the original box of that one. But this is a Monte Cristo Especials number 1. One of the living legends of the Cuba. Lancero. You can see the buns on these cigars. They're very, very old. So this is from the original batch from the 70s. I still have plenty of them. You can see the the patina, the buns, they're just brown. But yeah, Monte Cristo Especial is phenomenal cigar. I prefer Especial than Cuiba Lancero. You know, I usually Cuiba will be my choice for Robusto, for Corona, Petit Corona, you know, Dahlia. But when we talk about the proper Lancero, Monte Cristo is my choice. And now I'm going to show you one of my most precious boxes. Why I'm saying precious? I mean, it's a little bit scratched and scuffed box. It's not ideal. This is an old school Monte Cristo A box, lacquered box. Usually come with 25 cigars. Let me just move my camera. So why I'm saying this is a special box. Many years ago, when I was still predominantly smoke Cubans and I was very involved with auctions and everything, I was involved in an auction where it wasn't a specialized auction for cigars. It was an auction for lots of different stuff, and this specific one was all the personal belongings on one of the prime ministers, ex-prime ministers in UK, Harold Wilson. If you know, in UK, Harold Wilson is one of the few people which been twice prime ministers in a different years, so not consecutive. He was actually chosen twice in a different mandates, and I managed to buy 9 boxes from his cigars. He was one of the very profound cigar smokers and pipe smokers, so I literally bought most of the cigars on this auction. And this was one of the boxes. It was full. Now it's down to the last 10 cigars. Yep, only 10 left. This is how Monte Cristo A old school looks alike. Massive 9-inch thick ring gauge cigar. The bunt is very up. That's usually one of the signs for very old Monte Cristo. But yeah, the bunt is very similar to what I show you. It's a very rustic, very like been sitting in like cupboards for like humidors for like 50-60 years. But yeah, it's from the personal collection of Harold Wilson. There's a bunch of friends which also smoke from this box. You know, I've always shared with some friends and people, and this was one of the most precious boxes I managed to acquire during the years. One day it will be empty. At the moment, it's still some cigars. It is a good cigar. So I managed to again smoke probably 6 or 7 from this box. The rest was smoked with other friends. Everyone says it's a very decent cigar. Probably lost a little bit of the strength. It's quite mild, but it definitely have this Cuban twang, where people will keep asking at the beginning, okay, what's the Cuban twang, etc. Unfortunately, nowadays it's very hard to find stuff like that for a reasonable price, because back in the time, I'll be honest, I think for the full box, because there will be different lots, for the full box of this one, we're talking about maybe 10-12 years ago, something like that, something around 10 years ago. I paid something like £160 for the full box, £180, which was still very cheap. But again, it wasn't anything expensive at that time. It was quite cheap actually. I mean, they retail, I think, at the back of the time, something like probably about 30 or 40. So, but yeah, it's a great find and great cigar. Right. So, moving on. Next box. Jacob says in YouTube, is it fair to say that Cuban twang tastes like a slight minerality? Yes, It can be. I found it slightly sweeter than just minerality, but you can find some minerality as well. Next one is a very old box as well. Very nice looking lithography. It's a cigar brand called Morgan Ruff. It's a German. This particular box is from 1960s. Bunch of cigars left in there. I mean, I smoked a few of them. It's a carton box. You know, German save money on this one. Not a wooden box, as you can see. Just a plain carton box with a nice picture inside. Of course, piece of paper. The cigars itself look very, very old. I mean, again, I don't think you can see it, but there's like a small dust on top on the cigar. I don't know what's that. Again, I don't want to go into the argument what is that and what is not. Let me see if I can move it to the YouTube camera closer, because it's a better camera and maybe there's a better chance to see something. But there's a very fine dust all over the cigar. I mean, you need a specific lighting to see it, but no, it's too blurry, unfortunately. Of course, I'm not going to send it to the friends of Habanos or anything like that, but no, I don't think you can see it. Of course, it's when I do lives, there's no chance with this camera you can see anything. But yeah, those are typical German cigars made with lots of Sumatra tobacco. Some of them have Brazilian, not on this one. Some of them have Cuban. I don't know if this have Cuban. It doesn't says anywhere. Usually they are very proud and says, oh, Cuban tobacco, Havana tobacco. Doesn't says on this one. I didn't find much information on this one. So I guess it's one of those brands where we produce it at that time. Someone's asking me when was the last time I smoked one of this in that box. Last year in some point. I took it to... I was traveling somewhere. I remember because it was pain in the ass to keep this cigar whole. I think I smoked it in Italy, which make it like 4 months ago, 5 months ago. I'm pretty sure, yeah. I'm pretty sure I smoked it in when I was on my holiday in Italy. The very last brand for tonight. It's called Most Wanted. It's a most likely gimmick cigar. I've never smoked this one. It's a Dominican-made cigar. It's a big chunky 6x60. The factory who made it is called Linga. I don't think I've ever smoked anything from those guys. Again, it's not my typical size. I think someone gave it to me. I have a date on the cigar, May 25. So someone gave it to me May 25. I don't know who. But yeah, I'll smoke it one day probably. We'll see what it's about. I didn't find lots of information about this cigar. Again, it's a small brand made by a factory called Linga Cigars, which has been open since 2021. So it's not that old company. Maybe they sell them somewhere in the US. Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, Ecuadorian and Dominican filler. So we'll see. I never say no to try a new cigar. Doesn't matter where is it coming from and what is he, who made them or whatever. So we'll smoke it in some point. Right. On this note, I think it's already 9 o'clock. It's time for the final words. If you have another question, if you want to ask anything, now is the moment. In the meantime, next week will be 18th, no, 17th, no, what's next week? 16th of March. Definitely will be live for now. I have not much of other plans. Usual chat, usual nonsense, maybe rants, depend. Smoking something in the meantime. Keep liking the post, comments. Appreciate all the good words. Watch the video, read the blog, everything. I mean, all the support is appreciated. And if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, let me know. Uh, Jacob requests a rant every show. Look, I mean, I like ranting, but I don't want to just rant for the sake of ranting. I want to have a sense of ranting. I don't want to be the guy who just moaning, and in the same time, is just guy who moan. I want to have a little sense why I'm going to moan about it and why I'm not happy. I mean, I'm usually unhappy with a lot of stuff, but I don't like to show them publicly. But yeah, when it's cigar related, I don't care much, to be honest. I made some people not like me a lot. I don't think people like me a lot because of my rant, but not much to lose, so why not? Um, yeah, it's been a great night. I appreciate the questions and the comments. I mean, if you're gonna throw questions like the ones from the beginning, like Apex questions, I mean, I don't know, maybe try to research a little bit, or formulate the questions right. Again, Apex, nothing personal, brother, but some of the questions doesn't make any sense. At least not for me. Maybe I'm not the smartest guy in the audience, but I just don't get the questions. I mean, if it's something I can answer, I will. But if it doesn't make any sense, there's no point just mumbling here without having anything to say. Yeah. On this note, Realm, enjoy my rants. Thank you. Thank you. At least someone is happy when I'm ranting and talking nonsense. On this note, I wish you a wonderful week ahead. I hope my knee will be much better. Again, I have MCL stage 1 on my knee. I almost, mm, broke my, what do you call it, ligaments and stuff. I mean, it happened. I will enjoy my rest and keep smoking cigars, keep talking about cigars, and I hope I'll see you all next week with another episode of The Late Smoke with me, Ray, and maybe another portion of rants, like everything else. Good night, guys. I'll see you all next week.